I would love to spend a minute on the transatlantic paddle. Perhaps you can take us into day one.
Okay.
So, what was going through your mind as you pushed off the coast of Morocco?
When I started that journey, I was in Morocco. I'd been we had run out of money for the project because of the conditions were really difficult. So I couldn't leave because there were storms that were hitting the Moroccan coastline. So we had been there for a month. The craft had been sent to the wrong country. Then it got sent somewhere else. We still have no idea why it got sent to another country because, like, literally that shouldn't be possible because on the bill of lading, it got on the ship. It said that it was meant to be going to this one location in Morocco, but it somehow did. And it sort of derailed the whole project. And it was almost like there was someone trying to sabotage the entire project starting. Hence the reason why I was actually alone on the dock by myself. My team had flown home. I got told that if I didn't leave that morning, I was going to get put in jail because my visa had expired. Um, there was no one on the dock because I couldn't tell anyone where I was leaving from because we had a whole lot of issues with safety and security of myself for me starting the expedition. It was like someone was trying to stop me from moving forward with it. So I couldn't tell anyone where I was. So I left from that dock completely alone at 5 o'clock in the morning. No friends, no family, no team, no one on the dock. And to push out in the pitch black.
Wow, so definitely no send off party.
Yeah, I was my own send off party. And when you're doing something like that in a foreign country with no one else around, no support, no team, nothing, it was the most terrifying moment of my entire life to do something, to push off in the sheer blackness out into the Atlantic, to do something that everyone told you is impossible. And another guy that had tried 6 months before me that had only lasted 30, not even 18 hours before having to get rescued by the Coast Guard. I mean, it was, yeah, it was an incredibly poignant and testing moment physically, mentally, and emotionally for me, and how you push through your fears and adversity and keep yourself in a positive mental framework when everything around you is telling you not to go. But you have to override that and still proceed forward and just take that first stroke and that first paddle stroke and push through your fears. And I think it's a great example of life. You know, you've got to move through your fears and you've got to take that first step and overcome it because what's beyond your fears and what's beyond your comfort zone. That's actually where your greatest potential lies and your greatest self lies is beyond your fears. And there's an amazing quote that I heard somewhere quite recently that says that fear is only it's a mile wide, but it's only an inch deep. And I think that's a beautiful quote and terminology for framing fear in a positive way. You just got to just dive right in and you've got to go head first into it. And when you do that, it's never, once you move through that first initial state, you know that you can overcome it, but you've got to take that leap when everything's telling you not to. And I've been very fortunate that I've learned those lessons through big wave surfing that I've applied through all other areas of my life as well, is that fear is debilitating for most people, but I've learned that fear is actually one of the greatest tools to be able to help you enhance yourself and overcome great adversity. And also your greatest version of yourself lies beyond your fears. So every time you have fear that is trying to misguide you to not move forward, 99.9% of the time, that actually should be the point that actually drives you to continue forward through the obstacle and the challenge that is ahead of you that you're facing, because that's actually the path. So this famous quote by the Stoics that says whatever stands in your way becomes the way is actually the greatest line that will help direct you on your path to discovering your greatest self, because it is when you have an obstacle and a challenge and adversity or a goal in front of you that seems terrifying, that actually should remind you that you're on the right path and that you need to keep on moving forward through that challenge. Because yeah, whatever stands in the way becomes the way. So whatever challenge is facing you that is giving you the fear, that's actually, it should be reminding that you are on the right path and you need to keep on going. Which for most people is completely the opposite. For most people, people go, "Oh, it's a sign that I need to stop and not move forward." And all these things are happening because it's a sign that I mustn't be moving forward in this direction. No, no, it's the sign that you are on the right track and you need to keep on pushing through that, because that's when most people will give up and stop. That's when you need to keep on going and push through, because that's where your greatest magic and potential lies, beyond that fear. And that's where you learn the most of your from yourself, and you grow the most, and that's where all your greatest goals and self lies, beyond those fears. Be the bison, as I say. The bison is the only animal that actually runs towards a storm. Did you know that?
Sure. Yeah.
So that was day one.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think I read about the bison maybe when I was researching your book and your story. So just putting a pin on that journey, yeah, uh, pushing off the coast of Morocco by yourself after having faced incredible hurdles just seems so overwhelming. Not only did you not survive the first 18 hours, you went on to complete this historic battle. And I feel like the ordinary person, they hear 93 days and alone at sea, and I think they don't actually grasp what that means. So maybe you can describe a typical day, and what did survival look like?
Well, survival is different almost every single day. I mean, the first three to 5 days of that journey were horrendous. Everything you can imagine could possibly go wrong went wrong, and a whole lot more. I mean, even though I had a backup of a backup of a backup, I had my wind instrument stopped working, my autopilot stopped working, my water maker stopped working, my um, all my solar systems went down, and then I was paddling between 12 and 15 hours a day. So the only way I can put that into perspective for most normal human beings, it's like doing a full Ironman every single day, without having the luxury of being able to change your muscle groups to other sports, and also being able to then refuel after you've done your full Ironman for the day, to go home and then eat all the stuff that you want to eat, to refuel, and then rest for whatever, 7 to 12 hours after doing a full Ironman. But doing that every day on freeze dried food, and not enough on 3 to 4 liters of water a day, where I should have been on 6 to 10 liters of water a day, and then not having more than an hour and a half to 3 hours sleep, and doing that every day for 93 days. But most people talk about 93 days and they're like, oh, okay, 93 days is not too bad, because you just at night, then you go home and you turn off the lights and you jump into bed like you normally would, and you wake up the following morning 7 to 9 hours later. Well, I never had more than an hour and a half sleep, two stints of probably 45 minutes at a time, and I didn't have enough food to be able to like replenish what I was putting, like that I was taking out of my body every day. And in the first 3 to 5 days, I realized that even when I was not paddling, there was actually a current that was taking me back onto land. So the only solution I had to not get shipwrecked down the coastline was to carry on paddling. So I ended up paddling between 20 and 22 hours a day, and then not sleeping pretty much. So it's just so I didn't get shipwrecked down the coast, because there was no one that was going to be able to help me or support me. There was no team, there was no friends, there was no family, there's no coast guard, there's no one that you could call. So if I got shipwrecked down there, that was it, game over for me. So only solution I had was to not sleep and get enough further away from the coastline so I didn't get shipwrecked on the coast. And that was in the first 5 days. And then after that, I was pretty impressed and happy with myself that I hadn't died yet. So I sent out a message to say, well, if I can get through the last 5 days, then I can get through anything. And I pushed send, managed to get a signal. And when I sent that mail, what I didn't realize, what I sent out to social media, was that the incoming information that I got back was the weather forecast, which was that I was just about to get hit by probably the biggest storm of the entire journey, which most people don't really understand. When you're on a craft that's only not even a meter wide and this much above the water, you got water coming over you all the time. I got hit by, I don't know, a 10, 15-foot wave that hit me from the side and knocked me off the craft just before dark that evening. Thank goodness my emergency tether engaged and I got dragged behind the craft underneath the water for a couple of about 30 seconds before the craft slowed down and I pulled myself back up onto the deck. And then I realized it was too dangerous to be out on the deck in those conditions because if I got separated from my craft for more than like 3.5 seconds or 4 seconds, if my tether snapped, my percentage ratio of survival wasn't like 50% or 20%. It was zero, instantly, game over, because my craft would drift away from me faster than I could swim. So don't get separated from your craft, otherwise you're dead pretty much instantly. And that night was probably the most intense storm I've ever endured on any journey. I had 6 to 8 meter waves. I had 50 to 65 knots of wind, getting semi turned upside down in the middle of a storm in the middle of the night. Sounded like my little capsule was getting disintegrating around me, and my capsule was only as wide as my shoulders and not as long as I'm long. So I couldn't really sleep, and I was getting knocked around inside, trying to make water on with a little boiling hot little lit stove to be able to make freeze dried food. So you can, there was just a plethora of different challenges that hit me during that night. And then I deployed the parachute anchor to be able to stabilize myself in the conditions. And then I had this creature that got stuck in the craft in the parachute anchor that started dragging me through the top of these waves into and through these crazy conditions. And then I realized that I either had a whale or a giant squid that was stuck in the parachute anchor, dragging me and my craft down through these giant waves. I had to try and release myself. So I cut the line. Then I got caught inside the line, and the craft rolled with me attached to it in the middle of the storm, in the middle of the night. And it was like so far beyond what you can possibly imagine. Realized that there was a giant squid that had actually got trapped in the parachute anchor that we tried release. I got stuck underneath the craft when I got rolled while I was trying to release the giant squid, and then I got trapped underneath the craft, cut the line. When I cut the line then ended up going through my finger and almost taking it down to the bone. And then surviving that night, getting through to the following morning, realizing that my main steering system had been ripped off through the night, besides me almost losing my finger. Only thing that stopped me losing my finger was that my gloves and my taped hands had sort of protected me from that. And then I got pushed into the shipping lanes and then almost got ran over by probably between 20 and 30 super tankers as I got caught in like the busiest shipping channel in the world for 19 hours while I'd had no steering, getting blown down the shipping lanes. Yeah, and that was within the first like week. And then I'd chosen the Canary Islands to just as an exit plan to be able to escape just in case everything went to shit, which it did. But and my water maker still wasn't working, so I didn't know if I was going to have enough water for the journey. I damaged a lot of my freeze-dried food, so I didn't know I was going to have enough food for the journey. And then I couldn't use the Canary Islands as an extra strategy because the weather and the wind was too severe, so I couldn't go into any of the safe harbors because I had no steering. I'd almost lost my finger, and I didn't have the steerage to be able to get into the Canary Islands to be able to go in to get all the stuff fixed. And I knew if I did try and go in, that I probably wouldn't be allowed to be able to leave because of everything that had happened. So I decided to just carry on, and I realized that I did the numbers on the different things that I still had, food and water, and I figured out that if everything went correct after that, and I got into the I got into the trade winds and everything moved faster and my craft got lighter, that I would be a lot 30% lighter, and then I should just have enough to be able to get to the other side. But that was a calculated decision, knowing of everything that had gone wrong, and that if everything went as I was hoping, which it never does in the ocean, then I would get to the other side one very skinny pirate or die trying.